Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the SPD Omega Ranger and Uniforce Cycle from the Power Rangers Lightning Collection from Hasbro. Now this was an Amazon exclusive, and I know a lot of people had a terrible experience as far as getting this from Amazon. Amazon unfortunately is pretty notorious for sending collectible items in super subpar packaging. A lot of people received this in one of those flimsy, cheap plastic padded envelopes, which is just really not the way to send collectibles. I got lucky. The Mega Construx He-Man set that I reviewed yesterday, I bought, and I guess they came out around the same time because I pre-ordered this a while ago, and they just happened to ship them together in a box. And because the Mega Construx box was like so solid, I feel like it kind of cushioned this or added some solidity to it. It could have just as easily smashed it, but I got lucky. And this guy actually turned out not too terrible. It's not perfect, but it's certainly better than most. And I'm very, very excited and appreciative and just feeling lucky about it because I've seen some horror story pictures online, which is a shame because the artwork on the front is beautiful. You have a nice picture of the figure over here, which sadly has a better paint job than the figure itself inside. I'll show you that in a moment. Again, artwork on the side, very, very cool. And then on the back, same picture from the front. The V is a lot slimmer, and it looks like the Morpher, while not painted, is at least a different color. It's molded in gray here as opposed to white like the rest of the figure. So once again, back of the box a little bit better looking than what you actually get inside. And I'll show that off real quick. I don't usually open these, but I wanted to just show you what you get. I should say I don't usually open them on camera. I always open them. So a lot of people were also having trouble with the paint apps on this guy. I seem to have gotten lucky once again. There's kind of a little blemish here on his like upper lapel type area. I'll show that off later once I get it out of the packaging, but otherwise I think I got off fairly easy again. The bike looks good. You have the extra hands. Looks like he does not have an extra left hand, or are these both left? No, these are both left hands. He doesn't have an extra right hand. That's what it is. But you have the parts for his bike. You have his tiny little license down here. So I'm going to go ahead, get everything out of this tray, and then we'll take a closer look. So here he is out of the packaging. You have the bike, you have the figure, and yes, he can actually grab onto his morpher, which I appreciate. I'm going to go ahead and move his arms around. I think overall he looks pretty good. Like I said, I got lucky, and mine really doesn't have any super glaring paint apps. He does have this thing, like I told you about on the shoulder. It's almost kind of shadowed by his head. See what I mean? It's just kind of like it almost looks like a water drop or something. And then there's like a tiny little bit here on the chest. But all in all, I feel like it's not that bad. And just kind of looking at it right off the bat, it doesn't jump out at you. I mean, once you know it's there, you can kind of like look at it like your eyes are drawn to it. But overall, I don't really think it's that bad. I've seen a lot of people get way worse in terms of paint smudging, other things like that. It is a shame that they didn't continue the silver line along the back. I do at least appreciate that they got the blue going on to the back, but it would have been nice to have the gold stripe. But at that point, I think it's just because it's so thick, and I'm not 100% sure why they decided to make it so thick. It's definitely thinner on the packaging, like I pointed out earlier. I'm wondering if it has something to do with the ab crunch, because, you know, it might have been easier to not have to kind of draw like a thinner line down here on this part of the ab. It's just my guess. Pure speculation. But I think the helmet looks good. I love the gold on the side with the red. The visor and everything I think looks really good. You have a little SPD badge painted on his arm. Now from what I've heard, I believe, and it's been a minute since I've looked at it, but SPD Red has the badge molded into the arm, but they decided not to use that mold as the base. They used Time Force Red as the base from what I've been told, which is a strange choice. Even if they just kind of used the other arm, couldn't they plug the arm in? I would assume the connections are pretty similar, but what do I know? I'm not a toy designer. I will say, though, that ultimately, I do think he looks cool. I think they did a nice job. I like the color scheme. You can see you kind of have to make sure you line up the butterfly joint in line. Same thing with the ab crunch and the legs and all that. But as far as articulation goes, pretty standard for Lightning Collection. You have the hinge, the ball joint, as well as the hinge there for the head. You have the butterfly joint. You can see is a little loose on mine, but not too bad. Typical hinge in the shoulder there, as well as a rotation. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow. You have a up and down movement in the wrist. You also have the morpher is kind of on its own piece. It kind of moves around like that. So we take a close-up look at that. You can see that all the molding is there. They just didn't paint it. So if you are adept at painting your own, you can, because all the detail is there. Even if, like, on the packaging, this had just been molded in like that light gray, it would have just stood out a little bit against the arm. I do appreciate that they at least have his little, like, throttle, I guess, that can rotate out, which I do appreciate. And the hands look kind of neat. And like I said, there's that hinge. And then, of course, you have a swivel as well. And you can switch out the hands. We'll take a look at that in a moment. The torso has that typical kind of movement, and as well as the ab crunch there. You have kicks that far forward, kicks fairly decently out to the side, not so much to the back because he's got a butt flap. But then you have a thigh swivel there, double jointed knee, you have a boot swivel, you do have an ankle rock as well as a side to side. So like I said, pretty standard for Lightning Collection. I think he looks pretty good. Now you can see he's got like this, it almost looks like a trigger finger hand, even though he doesn't come with a gun. I guess that's to grab onto the throttle like I showed off earlier. He also has just an open hand. I'm not really sure why. I guess maybe like to say stop. Maybe if he wants to tell intruders to halt. That actually could be kind of cool. I kind of like that actually. And then he's got this like lightning hand, which you can tell the whole hand was molded out of the yellow translucent plastic, and then they just painted the hand white. And then you have the movement there. So, I don't know. After so many of these with the Psycho Rangers, I'm kind of tired of these. I don't really need the Force Lightning hands anymore. That's just me. But if you like it, it's here. And then he comes with a super tiny little badge. It's really very small. Actually, this is supposed to be a capture card, isn't it? My mistake. I didn't see, because this is the first time I'm actually looking at it this close. I think that's supposed to be a capture card, which is actually pretty cool. It's super tiny, though. Super, super tiny. If you're crazy about trying to paint this yourself, you could try to paint someone in there, but even just the sticker would have been neat. But in any case, I think the figure looks cool. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this bike. It is a giant unicycle, but I mean, that's what he had on the show. It's painted very nicely. Honestly, I think, you know, you got the gold stripe here. You got a little bit of red. Looks like I have a little spot of red there on the top, but super minimal. The way these handlebars, you have to do a tiny bit of assembly on your own. You peg in the, I guess, foot pegs, for lack of a better term, foot rests. They peg in and they snap in very nice and secure. The handlebars do not. You can just kind of take them out. Now you'll see this one has a notch, and when you look on the inside here, so in case you need help putting this together, because there's no directions on them. I mean, the directions say put it in, but that's it. So see how there's kind of a flat edge there? That's how you can tell which way to put these in. So you can see, and it's probably not showing well because everything's black, but you can see there is a flat edge on top, but there's also a notch. So you want to line that up with the white post in there. Makes sense, right? Go ahead, pop that in. Excellent. On this side, there is no notch, but the white post is still there. So, don't know what that's about. Still has the flat top, so you know which way to put it in. And then you just kind of put them in. These do not really snap into place, so don't go nuts if you're trying to really push on these to get them to snap in. They don't. You kind of just have to. And it's the other thing is they're like razor sharp plastic, so to try to push them in, there's nothing great to grab onto. It's really kind of annoying. But once you can get them in, like this one kind of snaps in decently as you just saw, but this one doesn't because there's no notch. So you can also see that it has this giant, like, I guess stand, for lack of a better term, kickstand. Mine was kind of tight, but I guess you just kind of push it up. I was looking for some, because at first it didn't want to move at all, and I'm looking at it like, is there some kind of release I'm missing? I don't see anything. I think you just push it up. Now there's another little wheel back here, I guess in case he starts to fall. I kind of just like the look of this because then it makes me think it's like one of those old-timey bicycles with a giant wheel in the front. And now I kind of just want him, you know, from the future to have an old-timey bicycle, because that just makes no sense, but that's just me having fun. In any case, this is a spinning wheel back here. I don't, if it's really just supposed to be a unicycle, I don't really understand why there's a spinning wheel back there. Like I said, maybe just in case he falls or whatever, but then you can push this back down as the kickstand, and that keeps it from falling over. So let's go ahead. Let's try to actually get him on this. And I'm sure it's doable. I just don't know how convincing I'll make this look on camera. Let's see. We're going to probably want to bend his knees, I would assume. So let's bend the knee. Maybe something like this. There we go. And I'm not great at posing figures, as you guys probably know. So I apologize there. Oh, oops. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get this in a good pose, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so there we go. I think I got it. I had some trouble with the knees, where at one point it looked like I was about to snap the leg in half, so that freaked me out, but I think I'm okay. You can also kind of tilt. I guess, is he supposed to be more like hunkered down? I don't know. He's on there. That's the best I can do. I'm sure he's supposed to sit more on the seat, but like I said, I'm not great at posing these things. So he's on there. You can kind of have the head look up. I guess that's as far up as it can look, but it still looks cool. So then if you push up the kickstand, you can have him rolling around. I mean, this rolls pretty well. Now, if you happen to do the old-timey bicycle, that's the way to go, see? He's laid back. So yeah, it's okay. I mean, most of the time you're probably either going to pose him on the motorcycle or right next to the motorcycle. Unicycle, I'm sorry. It's neat. I think it's cool. I mean, it's one of those things where it was a simplistic vehicle to do. It made sense. They included everything for $30. I really can't fault them for that. I feel like the price was more than fair when these things are usually $20 on their own and they gave you a cool little bike. I mean, I don't think they're going to start doing bikes with everybody, because normal bikes would probably be a little bit larger. I mean, they do it for Marvel Legends every once in a while, where they'll do a figure and a bike and it's around 40, which I think would be fair. Here, I'll bring the box back in for a backdrop here. But I think it's a cool set. If you can get one from Amazon and hopefully get one where the box isn't completely smashed, I think it's cool. I was trying to think, like, why doesn't he have any kind of weapons or accessories? But the more I think about it, did Omega Ranger have any weapons or accessories? I kind of don't think he did. He just had his little morpher where he would do the rev up thing and then kind of run around and attack people or turn into a ball of light, that kind of stuff. So, you know, they didn't really have any accessories to give him. Maybe that's another reason they decided to give him the motorcycle, because they kind of figured if they put this guy in a box with just a Force Lightning hand, people would kind of think it's a lackluster release, because they also didn't give us a civilian head. So, and I mean, it makes sense in my opinion for the context of the show. He only shows his civilian head for like 5 seconds at the end, right before he leaves. So I think they must have thought about it and just said, look, he doesn't have any accessories. He doesn't have a civilian head. We can't just put this thing in a box for $20. People are going to get upset. So they thought, okay, we'll make a bike. We'll throw it in. We'll round it off at 30. So in that regard, I think it was a smart play. I think the bike's cool. I think the figure looks good. Not perfect. You know, like I said, I think this figure, let me go ahead and tilt this up. I think this figure looks better. It's a little bit more gold, like sharp gold, instead of kind of a, I don't want to say butterscotch because that seems too mean. But like this is more of a shiny gold, where this is kind of a deeper, duller gold, maybe more of a bronze. And I think the V is a little bit sharper on here, not as thick. And the morpher is at least a different color. So again, this figure's not perfect, but I do think it's pretty good. I still think it's worth picking up. I think the $30 price tag is fair for what you get. Good figure, good vehicle. Just cross your fingers you're one of the ones who doesn't get A, smashed box from Amazon, or B, a super paint QC issue figure from Hasbro. So if you luck out and you can get all of if the stars align and you luck out and you can get all those things, I think it's a nice figure. The thing is, Hasbro is trying to get away from plastic in their packaging. They've made this declaration a while ago, so it doesn't surprise me to start moving into boxes like this without clear windows. We've seen with the Zeo Megazord figure that's coming out soon, the inside is all cardboard. Or no, maybe there is plastic, but it's cut out and it's only like the top section of the figure and part of the side. So they really are trying to minimize plastic in their packaging. The only downside is you can't look at the figures ahead of time to look for QC paint issues. And then when they come from Amazon, you have absolutely no opportunity to do that. So 2 times over, you're not going to be able to check this thing for QC issues until it's in hand and out of the box. I know some people have been contacting Amazon for replacements, especially smashed up boxes and things. I know a lot of collectors like to keep these boxes because the artwork's beautiful. I don't blame you. But like I said, if you can get one that's not messed up, I definitely think it's worth adding to the collection because it's definitely a very cool figure and it has a very unique accessory in that Uniforce cycle. Definitely not something you're going to see with most Rangers. So I like it. Again, the Force Lightning hand, meh. I mean, but they could have just given him like more fists or something. At the end of the day, I'm fine with what they included. I would rather take the extra hands, take them back, and give me 1 or 2 small paint apps on the Morpher. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't really care about all these extra hands. Although the kind of like stop hand is kind of nifty considering he's a cop. But in any case, that's going to do it for this review. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.